Hello everyone, this is Pallavi and today we are going to do chapter 7, Ashoka the Emperor who gave up war. So let's start. First we will go through some important definitions that are very important in this chapter. Empire. First one is empire. An empire is a set of lands or regions that are ruled by an emperor. Okay, like empire, it's mostly bigger than a kingdom and it is ruled by an emperor. Like in this chapter, we'll mostly read about Mauryan Empire. Then dynasty. When members of the same family become rulers, one after the other is called a dynasty. Like there is a king who created the dynasty. Then there is the king's son and there is that king's son. Okay, so it like going one after the other. Like mostly there are male kings, so like there is a king A. Okay, then for example A, there is a king A and A's son B, then B's son say C's son D, like that they will become kings one after the other. So now three important rulers. Now we'll see the three important rulers of Mauryan dynasty. So they are, first one, Chandragupta. He is the founder of the Mauryan dynasty. Then Bindusara, Chandragupta's son. Bindusara is Chandragupta's son. And then Ashoka. Ashoka is the son of Bindusara. So basically Chandragupta is Ashoka's grandfather. Okay. Then empire Ashoka ruled was founded by his grandfather Chandragupta Maurya more than 2300 years ago. So it was 2300 years ago this Mauryan dynasty or empire was found, like created by Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya was supported by a wise man named Chanakya or Kautilya. So there was a wise man named Chanakya or Kautilya, okay, who helped Chandragupta Maurya, because when he made this dynasty he was really small child. So that is why Chanakya Kautilya helped him. Many of Chanakya's ideas were written down in a book called Arthashastra. There's a book of Chanakya where his ideas of how to rule the kingdom and how to collect the taxes, how to govern the empire, all that is written in the Arthashastra. And many other important things about the Mauryan Empire also. Important cities in the Mauryan Empire. So this is a map on which some cities are there. So marked with black dots. The cities marked on this map with black dots. As you can see, they are Ujjain over here. They are Ujjain, and here it is Patliputra, and here it is Takshila. So these are the three places marked with black dots. So what do they mean? These are some important cities in the Mauryan Empire. So Patliputra, it is this over here. Over here, this is the Patliputra. Here, present day it is known as Patna. It's in Bihar. The next is Takshila. It was here. Here presently it is in Pakistan. Takshila was a gateway to the northwest. It was a gateway to the northwest, including Central Asia. Okay, it was a gateway to northwest and Central Asia. Then we have Ujjain. Ujjain was a route from north to south India. Many of the travelers who used to travel north to south, south to north, used to rest at Ujjain. Like they used to take a break at Ujjain. Then merchants, officials and craft persons often lived in these cities. Merchants, officials and craft persons were living in cities like Takshila, Patliputra, Ujjain. These important cities. Merchants, official merchants like Ujjain, they can live anywhere. Okay. Then we have In other areas, there were villages of farmers and herders. Now, in these other areas, like there is Sanchi and then other ones, but this inscriptions, the red dots, like over here, here inscriptions of Ashoka were found. Okay, and in the other areas except for these cities, some cities, there lived farmers and herders. Then some areas like central India, like in the central area India over here, uh, people lived in the forests and gathered forest produce. And this forest produce that they gathered, they had to sometimes also give it as tax to the king. Okay, so we are done with this. I hope you are understanding. Difference between empires and kingdoms. Now you must have seen empires, kingdoms and everything. So we have seen empires, the definition. And what is the difference then? We sometimes get confused. So what is the difference between empires and kingdoms? So one difference is that emperors need more resources than kings. So the emperors, the empire, as you saw, the Mauryan Empire is so huge, it is so large, and therefore to govern such a large area you need more resources and big armies as well. They need more officials also to collect taxes. From so many people around the area, you need to collect taxes. So you need many officials as well. They need to collect more tax also to run the empire, because in the Arthashastra, Kautilya wrote that everyone in the empire should pay the tax. So more tax of course they will get, but everybody had to pay equal number of tax, and then more tax was collected from everyone in the area. Then we have area around Patliputra were ruled. Now see, ruling the empire, how to rule the empire. Area around the Patliputra area, that capital city of Mauryan Empire, was ruled directly. This means that officials would collect taxes from people living around Patliputra. So in the previous slides, I showed you a picture that Patliputra was marked with a black dot. So that means it is an important city. And from there, the king's palace usually was at Patliputra. It is at the king's palace was at Patliputra. So the king used to rule Patliputra and its little surrounding areas directly. Okay. This means that officials could collect taxes only to the area around Patliputra. Okay. Easily they could collect. These officials also punished those who disobeyed the rule's orders. Like the rule gave order that you have to pay 2% more tax from now on, and then some person says that we won't do it, then the officials also punish them. Okay, now these officials were appointed on salary. Okay, spies, they were appointed on salary. That means they were given money for months, for a day, or for a month. They were given money. Now spies also kept a watch on the officials. So spies had to keep a watch, because what if the officials were keeping the people's tax for their own use and not giving it back to the king, right? So that is why spies were also keeping a watch on the officials. Other provinces were ruled by princes from the royal family. These princes were sent as governors to other places. Now there were other provinces that were ruled from the princes of the royal family. Means there were princes in the family. It was a royal family, king's family. So there were princes over there. Okay. Now these like other places like Takshila, okay, Ujjain, they are not in direct control of the king. They are really far away from Patliputra. So how will the king rule that? So he used to send royal princes from the royal family to Ujjain, Takshila and other faraway provinces of the subcontinent, our area. Okay, he used to send to the Mauryan Empire different places. He used to send royal princes to that. And these princes had to implement all the rules and regulations made by the king. Whatever order the king gives, these princes had to implement those in his area. Next is ruling the empire only. There is one more point. Some more points here. Mauryas trying to control roads. This is roads over here, not rads. It is roads. The river and rivers which were important for transport purposes. So, as you can see, this is the Maurya dynasty. And so they have covered lot of coastal area. And there are rivers also in their area. So they try to control roads and rivers which were important for transport purposes. And from there, they used to collect taxes or whatever resources as tax or tribute. Okay, from these river areas only they used to collect tax, tribute, whatever they could get. Okay, basically they used to collect things, not money only. They used to collect things also like gold, blankets, or whatever resources available. Like in the river area or the coastal area, you'll mostly find fishes and many other things. So they used to just take it, okay, as tax, sometimes as tribute. The Arthashastra tells us that South was famous for gold and precious stones and that the Northwest was important for blankets. Arthashastra, the book that Kautilya wrote, he told that the South was famous for gold. Here, I have marked a picture here, that somewhere in the South it was famous for gold. Okay, they had controlled some part of South, Goa, Karnataka and all that. They had controlled it, and some part of Tamil Nadu as well. So this part was famous for gold and precious stones. And the Northwest was famous for blankets. Okay, somewhere here. So it was famous for blankets. Takshila, Mathura and all that. It must be famous for blankets. It is possible that these resources were collected as tax or tribute. Okay. There were also forested regions. Now, as before we read that the central part of India is forested region and there people used to collect forest produce. So now people living there would get forest produce as their tax because they have that only. So they will give it as tax or sometimes as tribute. Emperor and the capital city. Okay. Megasthenes, an ambassador who was sent to the court of Chandragupta by Seleucus Nicator, who was the Greek ruler of West Asia. Now it must be a little confusing because there are many names in this. Megasthenes, he was a Greek ambassador who was sent to the court of Chandragupta. So Megasthenes, he was an ambassador because he was sent to the court of Chandragupta because Alexander wanted to invade India. But his army was little scared and they did not want to go, they did not want to invade India because they had heard that the Indian kings are very royal, they are very powerful and all that. They had heard. So they did not want to invade India. But then, so Alexander said, okay, then he left one of his ruler of Greek ruler, Seleucus Nicator. He left him and then he said to him that you see what is going on here, and then when you see what is happening, how the king lives and all that, you just see and you tell me. So then this Seleucus Nicator, he was a king himself, so he sent his own ambassador Megasthenes to the court of Chandragupta. Okay, so that then Megasthenes wrote a book also in which he wrote whatever he saw at the king's palace. So he wrote that the day when the emperor appears in public is celebrated grandly. Okay, like this. there are armies marching, there are people, and the king is sitting on an elephant that is decorated with gold and silver. Okay, and there are parrots moving on the king's crown, his head, and then his guards carry lively trees. They carry trees on which, like, lively birds, living birds, they circle around the tree and they sit in the tree and all that. So it's celebrated really grandly. And servants over there taste the food before the emperor eats. Okay, so like before the emperor will eat his food, his servants will taste it because there might be poison in it and somebody might try to kill the king. So that is why it was important to taste. And he never sleeps in the same room more than 2 nights. He never sleeps in the same room more than 2 nights, like 2 days, because he is afraid that someone might kill him. Okay, so that is why he never sleeps more than 2 nights in the same bedroom. What Megasthenes wrote about the capital city. Now we will learn that what did Megasthenes wrote about Patliputra, capital city. Now this is what Megasthenes wrote about Patna, Patliputra. This city is surrounded by massive walls. It has 570 towers and 64 gates. So it is surrounded by massive walls, like they are fortified. The city is fully fortified, okay, for security purpose, and it has 570 towers. They are important again because of security purpose, and 64 gates. 64 gates means that around the fortifying there were gates. Okay, there were gates to enter the city, 64 of them. Okay, the houses that are about 2 or 3 story high, this is or, okay, there are many mistakes in this. So they are 2 or 3 stories high and are built with mud bricks and wood. So like these houses, they are 2 or 3 stories high and they are built with mud bricks, the bricks that are made up of mud, okay, and wood also. The king's palace itself is made up of wood. Okay, the king's palace is made up of wood and is decorated with stone carvings. Like you take a hammer and chisel and a hammer and then you do, and then it carves beautiful patterns, you know. Yes. So now we have completed about the Mauryan Empire. Now we'll see Ashoka. Okay, Ashoka was the most famous Mauryan ruler. First ruler who tried to convey his message through inscriptions to people. So Ashoka was the first, I think, and the only. Yeah, I think he was the first and the only ruler to convey his message to people through inscriptions. Okay, most of which were written in Prakrit and Brahmi script. So Prakrit was, like we read before in the chapters, it was a ordinary language spoken by the people. And Brahmi script, we will see about that. Ashoka's war in Kalinga. As the chapter's name, Ashoka, the emperor who gave up war. So now we will see why did Ashoka give up war. Okay, Kalinga is the ancient name of coastal Orissa. This Kalinga, like Patliputra had, like Patna had an ancient name Patliputra. So same way Orissa had a ancient name Kalinga. Ashoka fought a war to conquer Kalinga. Okay, he was so horrified when he saw the violence and bloodshed that he decided not to fight any more wars. So he was so horrified when he saw the violence, so much bloodshed, he lost many of his loved ones, many of his people. Okay, he's the only king in history who gave up conquest after winning war. Okay, so he's the only king in history who gave up the conquest, conquest of war. He said that I don't want to win any more lands. I want to win people's hearts by observing the path of Dhamma. Now Dhamma is we'll see about Dhamma. Okay, so this was how the Kalinga war happened. Ashoka's inscription about the Kalinga. war. Okay, how did he describe it on an inscription, the Kalinga War? He said that whenever an independent land is conquered, lakhs of people die and many are taken as prisoners. So he said that when an independent land, like a land that has no king, nobody, is conquered, lakhs of people die and many are taken as prisoners because like they just capture them, Brahmins and monks also die because like it's a area, so Brahmins and monks, of course, they will be there. He said that 8 years after he became king, he conquered Kalinga. So 8 years after he became king, he conquered Kalinga, coastal Orissa. He said that about 1.5 lakh people were captured, 1.5 lakh people were captured, and more than 1 lakh people were killed. Okay, so many people were killed, captured. So that is why this is how he describes the war. Okay, people who are kind to their relatives and friends, and who were kind to slaves and to their own servants were dead. They die. Okay, or lose their loved ones. So he's telling what happens in a war. Why is it harmful? Why is it bad? Okay, people who are kind to relatives were kind to their relatives, okay, and who to their friends also, to slaves, to servants, they die or they themselves lose their loved ones. Okay, many people die. He said that he's sad. He said that he's sad and decides a path to observe. Decides to observe the path of Dhamma. Now, Dhamma is okay. This Dhamma basically is his own religion. Okay, that religion type he made it. Okay, Ashoka's Dhamma. Okay, there were people who followed different types of religions. Yes, this led to conflicts between people. Yes, till now there are conflicts upon religion. No, yes. Now there were people who followed different types of religions. Now around the country, in our country only, all kinds of religions are welcomed. So now some people, they are very, they say that our religion is superior. So then now this leads to conflict between people. Okay, so and Ashoka was very tense and he decided I'll do something for it. So he appointed officials known as Dhamma Mahamatas who went from place to place teaching people about Dhamma. So whatever I'm telling you, he inscribed it on a inscription. This message of Dhamma, he inscribed it on an inscription. Okay, and his officials, Dhamma Mahamatas, his officials, they went from place to place, teaching people about Dhamma. Okay, how is Dhamma? What is it? Okay. And then he inscribed his message on rocks and pillars and instructed his officials to read it to those who cannot read it themselves. This means that he inscribed it on rocks, pillars, okay, and then instructed his officials. Many places where these inscriptions have been found. Those places also we have found rocks, pillars, and many other things on which some messages are inscribed. Okay, and then these messages were inscribed on rocks and pillars at different places. Okay, he sent his messengers to Syria, Egypt, Greece, and Sri Lanka. So he sent his messengers to faraway places as well, like Egypt, Syria, Greece, Sri Lanka. Okay, now we will read about the Brahmi script. Modern Indian scripts have developed from the Brahmi script over hundreds of years. So now the modern Indian scripts like Devanagari, Hindi, basically Hindi, Bengali, Malayalam, and Tamil. Okay, all of these languages have developed from Brahmi script only. So now here A is written in different scripts. Early Brahmi, it was written something like this, and now Hindi, which we mostly do, it is written like this, and this is in Bengali, this is in Malayalam, and this is in Tamil. Okay, so now here our session is ended. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Thank you and have a nice day.